So this is episode 5 of the Natural Born Growth Hackers. Today we have my good friend Justin Doherty on here, and he's actually in what year med school right now?
I just finished my third year.
Just finished his third year med school, and we're going to talk about his whole journey of how he's used growth hacking to get where he is right now. Just grinding, hustling, and his entire journey from like high school to undergrad, and you got your PhD, right? Or your
I got a master's.
His master's,
working
yeah.
on my MD now.
He's working on his MD right now, so we'll talk about that whole journey. But first off, I actually went to high school, St. Thomas Aquinas High School, with Justin. We grew up taking all those hard math classes together.
I remember that.
Yep. So we have a pretty solid background, and we know each other for a long time. And let's go for it. Let's start from your first undergrad experience to how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah. So I guess just to I'll be brief, but to really start, I am a descendant of Puerto Rican immigrants, and I feel like there was always this expectation for me to really go all the way, and for them it was about being a doctor. It was like a cultural thing. In addition to that, I'm the firstborn of my generation. I have 4 younger siblings. I have tons of cousins who all look up to me, so I've always had to be responsible for them. I've always had to set an example. Fortunate enough to go to St. Thomas Aquinas High School with you, Chris, and that really kind of helped me move along as well into undergrad. And I guess undergrad for me, it was really just research where it took off. And I mean, if you want to talk about grinding, research is it's a thankless job. You essentially are spending hours of your time working on a volunteer basis. If you're lucky enough, your work, if you put years and years into that work, it might be one sentence in a textbook. You know what I'm saying? So it's really is thankless job. It taught me to grind the way I did, and it opened doors for me. And actually, from undergrad, I was then able to transition, and I wound up getting my master's at the University of Oxford in England on a full scholarship.
Talk more about that too, because I know you had an awesome experience going overseas, being abroad for that whole that time in your life.
Yeah, man. I basically I was able to go there on a full ride thanks to the Frost Scholarship. It's a philanthropic scholarship, so I was really fortunate to get that. And I wound up getting a master's in integrated immunology. Immune system underlies just about every disease in the body, so I was this is the knowledge I wanted to have. I was fortunate to get in. My fiance also got in, and we spent time over there, and really great. Just it was a nice conduit to all these different countries around, so I got to do a lot of traveling while I was over there. It was a great experience overall.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
What would you say is the biggest difference in students between there and over here?
There and over here, so it was just so diverse. Like I said, they're at the center of everything, and they're so competitive. I mean, everybody you meet, I think even I don't want to misquote it, but something 10 to 20% of students over there are American.
Yeah.
So it's just at that school. So it's there's just such a cool so many diverse people. I was in actually a small class of about 20 students. A few of them were doctors. We had doctors from Indonesia. We had doctors from Palestine. It was really, really diverse experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, you see so many different perspectives. I mean, do you think that kind of shaped how you went into now being in med school and really helped you to set you apart from different things?
Absolutely, especially, I mean, you talk to somebody, struggling with what she's struggling with in Palestine, she's a female from Palestine, you talk to these guys from Indonesia, and it's what could I possibly complain about?
Yeah, it's not even comparable.
Right, yeah. If anything, it's funny though, there was this element of America's got this huge pop culture thing, so you get a lot of questions, and the presidential elections were always fun for them.
So for medical school, where are you going now?
So I was fortunate enough to come back. I did my undergrad at University of South Florida, went overseas, came back right to University of South Florida, Morsani College of Medicine. I'm going into my 4th year now, and my based on my experiences so far, I really am looking to go into internal medicine and maybe one day be a cardiologist, but long road ahead. So
That's awesome. So, like, what led you to choose that profession? I guess, like, what kind of, like, brought you in that direction for deciding that you want to do that?
yeah, so internal medicine is basically all of medicine. It encompasses everything, and that's why you can go into cardiology or all these different disciplines from it. These physicians I worked with, like, you know, again, their mindsets, that what they have to bring to the table, they have to be essentially like walking encyclopedias. They need to be able to work up any medical issue, and only call in the specialist when they really need it. You know, that's like a barrier for hospital, you know, resource allocation as well. So super important job, really respectable profession, and you know, that's kind of why I kind of was attracted to it.
I would say doctors is probably a respectable profession. But yeah, going back to what you said originally when you talked about St. Thomas, I think like having that like initial background, like people like us, I feel like take advantage of like the actual experience that we had in high school. You know, like it kind of like really set the stone for us to go and do what we're doing right now, and especially like that pillar of discipline. You know, when I was in public school, there really was not discipline that you had to follow, but like the second you went to St. Thomas, it was a lot different, you know.
Oh yeah. I actually went to elementary school my whole life, and just the idea of, you know, showing up at school wearing a uniform, like,
yeah, it was,
you know, and being in dress code every day.
It was such a different experience. Like when I first got there as well, and I knew like maybe 5 or 6 people too, because I came from public school that was like 30 minutes north, and I went to this. It was such like unfamiliar territory, but. I mean, I was very glad that I went through the whole journey, you know, like there's many times where I wanted to transfer from St. Thomas, but I mean, we stuck it out, we stayed, we had a great time, and it really just like created this like foundation for us to build on and bring into like our other niches that we kind of like led into our own paths and careers. And I mean, I never knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. Like that was never my goal and mindset, as you know.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a Navy SEAL or something. You know? I was convinced I wanted to go down that route and join the Navy and whatnot, but you know, different things in your life happen that kind of put me down this different path. But I guess like what would you say kind of like brought you down that path that really helped you from like St. Thomas? Like would you learn that kind of like brought to undergrad that you brought to med school?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately just like kind of like respect, like, you know, going to a Catholic school, having to respect like the religious practices, and also like, you know, kind of very formal experience. I feel like, again, you know, you're in like full dress code in the morning, prayer, pledge of allegiance, that kind of thing is just like, you know, when I want to get back to my roots, when I feel like I'm kind of losing my, you know, track of myself on my journey. Recently, I actually just bought a little American flag and a crucifix for my house, and now I wake up in the morning and I like, you know, I say the Our Father and I say a pledge of allegiance, and I feel like it just like brings me back, you know, to that, like you said, that pillar of discipline that we're fortunate to establish.
Also, too, I mean, the people that went to St. Thomas, there's so many legends that like, you know, walked in the halls before we went there, and then I mean now after as well. I mean, we went to school with the two Bosa brothers. They both have over $100 million contracts in the NFL right now. You know, like they both do individually, not just like combined totals. It's wild, but it just goes to show you like the culture there it really is so different than most other high schools, and I think I know for a fact myself I took advantage of it when I was there. I look back and I wish I would have done things differently, you know, but regardless, like when you reminisce about it, like we really did, like we were instilled like these values of just pure discipline and like the ability to like, you know, bring that to like anything, like growth hacking, your ventures, becoming a doctor, whatever it may be. Like I think discipline is like the number one pillar that we definitely gained while attending that school.
Yeah, I'm curious, especially for you were participating in the sports there, and I mean they're like sports programs.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal. yeah, for sure, and 100%. And also too, Joe, I mean he went to Cardinal Gibbons his first 2 years, and then Westminster, so he had like 2 different experiences of different Catholic schools down here.
Yeah, but I could definitely tell you, I feel like St. Thomas definitely instills throughout everything that you guys do a winning culture, because every other school compares themselves. Because Marcus Gibbons, all we were worried about was we got to beat St. Thomas. We got to beat St. Thomas.
Yeah. No, for sure, 100%. And like, I would say too, like the tradition. I think that's one of the biggest things as well, and that they instill in everyone. I mean, they have. I don't do it myself, but I mean, a lot of the players, they literally come back every single year for the Thanksgiving bowl game, and they watch the practice that day with the current team, and there's just like this tradition and the values and the discipline in general. Like, there's so many pillars that you're taught, whether it be in sports or whether it be in education at St. Thomas.
Yeah, you talk about tradition. My parents went there, so they're like,
yeah,
you're going.
Yeah, no, for sure. Exactly. It's a prime example. And also too, the competitiveness. Like, it's unreal, as you see, like with the amount of like smart asses in our classes that we had.
I know.
Yeah, we took AP Calculus AB our sophomore years of high school. You know, like, that's kind of when I threw the towel in. But regardless, though, to get there, like it was very competitive, and the amount of people like that are in that program. There's like 60 of us, I think.
Yeah.
Or probably less actually.
Less, yeah.
But still, regardless, though, like I mean, that's a large portion of like high achievers that are trying to like be like 4 grades up ahead of like their current math class that they're supposed to be at. So it just goes to show you like the level of competitiveness. Like, you're not gonna find that at a regular high school, and also too the amount of like national scholars. It was insane.
I know.
But yeah, let's move on to another topic now.
Yeah.
No more discussion.
You don't want to beat the St. Thomas drum a little bit?
Yeah. Let's talk about advice that you would give to anyone that's trying to get in, let's say you're fresh out of undergrad. Advice that you would give to someone that's maybe studying to the MCATs, right? Or trying to go into med school. What advice would you like give yourself if you knew like the path that you were gonna go on?
Just be patient and manage
like
your
that.
expectations. I mean, the average age of graduating from undergrad is like 22, 23. The average age of matriculation to medical school is increasing by the second. I mean, last I checked, it was about 26 years old.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a big gap period that you need to find something to do with your time that's going to make you a competitive candidate, and at the same time,
like going
not
to
gonna make you
Oxford.
lose focus. Yeah, fortunately that was what I did, but whether it's research, working as an EMT, literally, I mean, you could do anything if you're working as a waitress in a restaurant. Like, we have people who are like Chipotle managers who are like, hey, I'm done here, I'm going to medical school. It's crazy. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're getting experience in something and you're dealing with people and learning how they want to interact or interacting with different people, because when you're in a classroom, it's so different from being the real world.
yeah, you're exactly right. And our first 2 years medical school were all classroom. This last year, all patient interactions were in hospitals, were in clinics, and I think it was like the true test of like, okay, like, you're smart, but can you have a conversation with somebody? Can you figure out what's going on?
Yeah, and like going back to the patience thing, I think that's like a huge virtue for just any field in general. I'm taking this ad agency course right now just to kind of like make myself better at being able to do lead generation and all the different things that I'm part of right now. And one of like the pillars of like the 15 leadership skills that we're learning right now, like one of them on there was patience. And I think you can bring that to literally everything, because you can be a hard worker, you can grind all you want, but you got to have a balance in what you're doing, because I know you've seen me burn out before. I've seen you burn out before.
Oh yeah.
It's always the worst, but you can prevent that from happening by like instilling like patience and your whole process of going about, whether it be studying, your work ethic, your habits. I think patience is one of the greatest virtues out there. And as you can see, like with your own medical like class, like the first 2 years, I'm sure you were like, you wanted to get out there, but there's stuff that you guys needed to learn, obviously. And now talk about what you've gone through the past year, because I know you were like part of the VA. Like, talk about that. I want to hear that more, like the experience that you've learned in that journey so far.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great hospital system up in Tampa. We rotate through the core pillars of medicine, which is primary care, internal medicine, OB/GYN, pediatrics, surgery, neurology, psychiatry. So all in 1 year. So
Yeah.
they really, we get tested on all of these subjects too. We work in clinics where, with these specialists. So really, I mean, the last year has probably been the best year of my entire life. I mean, I think we'll see in the future if anything can top this, but to go, from being in a surgery to being at a baby's delivery, to being here, like, it was just, you're never going to see that again. So I think, overall, I was thankful to get the exposure to everything because, you're going to run across all these different patients, especially in the profession that I want to go into. I'm going to see, all walks of life, and I need to be able to treat all of these issues. But more importantly, I was able to see it in different contexts. Like you brought up, I was able to rotate at the James A. Haley VA. I was able to rotate at Tampa General Hospital, and I was also even able to rotate at Moffitt, which is like a nationally renowned cancer center. So, I think it really comes down to getting that exposure to all these different patient bases because that's at the end of the day that's who you're talking to, who you're treating. So
Yeah, no, 100%. It's those experiences too. They're gonna stay with you. Like I couldn't even imagine. That sounds amazing. That makes me want to go to med school now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's so rewarding too. Actually, like being able to experience that after sitting in a classroom, learning about these different things. I'm sure you feel like very grateful to be able to go through that experience.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge you felt though, going from all the classroom training to now, like we're actually in the field, like we got to know this, we got to do it?
Yeah, so it can be tough to ask certain questions. By now I'm kind of over it, but you have to ask like very like intimate questions. You have to probe about a person's sex life. I mean, their substance use. It gets really like obviously the physician-patient line is confidential, but still, and especially when you're talking to younger, like adolescent patients, trying to establish that confidentiality and let them know it's a safe space to talk, and just, I brought up substance use and sexual stuff, but even most people, I would say, have the biggest reservations about just talking about their feelings. Like, nobody really wants to talk about it if they're sad, having a hard time. They just kind of like bottle it up, and you can tell, but it's hard to get that out of people.
Yeah, and that's one of those things too. Like goes back to mental health as well, I think. And up until recently, I feel like a lot of people, they just didn't want to talk about mental health. And now there's been this whole push and like the media awareness, social media too in general. Everyone's kind of like like huddling together and like realizing, okay, well, it's better to talk about these things instead of like boiling it up. And like that goes back to like what we're doing at Division 42. Obviously, the whole goal is using fitness to improve your mental health. And I can definitely see that. One thing that you mentioned that I want to bring up as well was you said that like there's been a crazy uptick in med school applications. Yeah, so I was watching literally just now in the news. They're discussing like how obviously the economy is turning right now. There's a lot less investments that are occurring, but one of those investments that has not like that's still sustaining and actually increasing is the biomedical field. And it goes to show you, like, people are interested in, different ways that they can help improve their own lives and, fight cancer, different things like that, There's so many different aspects that biomedical entails, and obviously seeing that uptick in medical field with applications, anyone can go in so many different fields. And I know you talked about to me before, like, different ideas that you had for startups in the medical fields, and he actually met someone. You want to talk about that real quick?
Oh, yeah.
He met someone so he just tell how you met the person essentially.
Yeah, so I sold a guy a house, and then he's part of a startup, and then all of his buddies are in startups. He's from New York, and one of his buddies comes over and he's like, oh, I'm in a medical field startup for a medical device. So I'm thinking, oh, he works for Stryker or something like that. Mm-hmm. But apparently they created a product where so all the doctors can now work remote, and it's like arm sleeves and heart monitors and everything. But the big issue was that they were going to need to use Bluetooth, and a lot of older patients don't know how to use like their phones or the TV remotes. So they put cell phone chips in all these devices so they can monitor all their patients. They can live in Florida, monitor a patient in Washington, from each of them from their own house. So it was really cool, and I could definitely see how it's starting to take off, and they're just getting a ton of money pouring in with that project. I mean, the whole idea is just number one, just being able to be remote. I mean, think about it. You're in a hospital. Number one, you're sick or you have some issue. Now you're in a hospital, a foreign environment. You're already older or you're just not in a good place mentally either. And now you can be in the comfort of your own home, around your loved ones, especially during COVID, where it was just like, I can only imagine just being super lonely and just like, it's just you sitting there watching TV. There's only so much soap operas and crap you can watch during the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're definitely being able to help people enjoy their lives a little bit better.
Yeah, and they've raised, like you said, $100 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. He's like in the early 30s. This kid too, not a kid obviously, but this guy, he's in his early 30s. He's still young, you know, and he's leading that startup. But one thing that you just mentioned, I'm trying to think about what you just said. Yeah, the whole like remote access, you know, to your patients. I think that's huge because, I mean, a doctor could literally track someone's vitals when they're having a heart attack, you know, and they're gonna know, like, okay, shit, I'm gonna call 911 to my patient's house because they're having a heart attack.
Yeah. And they don't even have to do it sometimes. Like, you can literally automate it if it's like on a program and you create a software where it's like constantly monitoring them 24/7. Like, middle of the night, you're not gonna be up looking at all the vitals. But if all of a sudden it detects something, it can automatically call 911, dispatch all the information and all the vitals, so when they get there, they can potentially save that person's life.
Yeah, I don't. If that's not growth hacking, I don't know what growth hacking is, to be honest. Because I mean, we're now creating like this tool that essentially is gonna, you know, completely save lives. That's being accessed by doctors and their patients. Also, too, something you said, Joe, that I want to bring up is during COVID, there was a huge uptick when COVID ended with cancer people because they couldn't go and they couldn't get their screenings. So that's another thing. Like during this pandemic, like maybe like down the road, there's something can be created that, you know, can like detect cancer like remotely without you actually going to need to get scans, you know, like to get like a biopsy or something, you know, like some way to detect it earlier or just like as it's even coming on, you know. Like I'm sure there's gonna be a way for us to like test it with like these different devices that you're like plugged into your arms, you know. You can literally detect cancer. Like there's like certain like vitals that are happening, like he's got cancer, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's the future. That's what's gonna happen. Like with like growth hacking is gonna essentially just create like these different avenues for ventures to just take over. And I mean, you see Elon Musk right now, he keeps talking about like, you know, AI, robots taking over. It's for the better. Let's be realistic here. Technology's here for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lose that whole human error aspect of it. Plus, it can do it so much more efficiently in some aspects. Obviously, there's still be some things where humans have to take over, but
Yeah, like I welcome automated driving. I think some of us are not the best drivers out here. I just drove over in the rain on some major roadways, and I think an automated car probably can do better than most people out there.
especially in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially down here. I mean, they just had those incidents, so like I know that like a few of them that happened, but still, I feel like they're one-off. You know, they're accidents.
Mhm.
It's gonna happen. I mean, there's still, if there's not, it's gonna be all robots or all humans, because there's still like that human error that it can't detect it fast enough.
It's still fun to drive a car, though. I
Yes,
don't
it
know. I like driving my Mustang. I don't know if I can completely give. It's like iRobot, you know, when he goes on the highway, like the robots are jumping out of the truck,
Yeah.
trying to kill Will Smith, and it's like that whole scene. But like he decides to, you know, take over, and he's like crazy high speed driving. He's like, are you not on autopilot right now? Like it's like that whole thing. But I feel like you have to have some kind of, you know, ability to be able to, you know, whip your car around.
Yeah.
But let's discuss now like the kind of pivot direction that Division 42 is taking now. So last episode we talked a lot about this challenge that we're having and like how it's been a challenge to actually get members for this challenge. But
Challenge within itself.
yeah, also too I talked about this conversation that I had on Upstream with an entrepreneur that he's implementing NFTs in every single one of his ventures that he's a part of right now. So it's kind of like that whole like lab, you know, like Dapper Labs, for example, or Yuga Labs. It's like that whole business model. We're going to kind of take that direction now for Division 42 as well, because like what's the best way to build a community and like fast and like also passionately? And I think that is, you know, through these discords that a lot of these projects are creating. And I don't know why I didn't think about this before, because obviously I've been part of an NFT project since January now, but we're taking that kind of pivot towards Web3 now, completely Web3, honestly, from our Web2. original scope that we had and trajectory. But I think how we're going to do that essentially is we want to create a challenge within an NFT that we're going to launch. So our goal here is to really build that momentum of promoting mental health. So the direction that we're going to take with that is our now goal and our mission for Division 42 is to create equal access to fitness for everyone around the globe. And we want to donate, because as anyone knows about our project and Division 42 in general, the whole mission behind it is donating 42% of all the profits to nonprofits that support mental health. So now we're going to create our own nonprofit. It's going to be called, we haven't decided the name yet, but it's probably going to be called like something like Project Fit or Project Fit Life or whatever is not taken out there for that kind of like aspect and message that we can convey. And we're going to be donating 42% of our profits that we get through, apparel sales, supplements, whatever, in Division 42 to this new concept of just creating a studio that's all nonprofit, that's going to create content, create classes, meditations, like yoga classes, group fitness classes, and we're going to have a streaming platform where anyone in the globe that has access to internet is going to be able to stream these classes. They're going to be recorded, and they're also going to be live too. That's kind of the golden step that we're trying to take, because there's a lot of these brands and companies out there, like they have these different classes that you get access to, but you got to pay for most of them. They're not really free usually, unless it's a free trial or whatever the case may be. But I think going in this direction, so how we're going to do it too is we want to create an app, like an MVP version of our app. You can just let her in, it's not a big deal. We want to create an MVP. Sorry, that's my dog right there scratching the door to come inside. But we want to create the MVP version from getting this like community buy-in. So it's kind of like this project is going to be, like a way to crowdfund our concept that we're trying to build. And it's going to be a very simple app. Originally, it's going to just be our apparel or supplements, and then the portion of the challenges that we're going to do. And right now, the concept that we have for it is essentially tracking your steps, but like in a mission-oriented leaderboard fashion, where you enter, like the NFT that you purchase is going to gain you access to this challenge that's going to be 60 days long, just like we previously talked about, with different missions that you can accomplish to kind of rank yourself up in the leaderboards. There's going to be weekly rewards with cash prizes, apparel, and supplements, and also there's going to be rewards of winning the whole thing, like first, second, third. We haven't really discussed the actual parameters around it, but we're moving in that Web3 direction now because we see how powerful some of these communities are that are being created from these different discords. Like they're really honestly like kickstarting own brands. Like there's so many ways that you can go about doing this, and I think community empowerment is the biggest way. And one thing that we're going to implement that I have never seen any NFT project do yet as well is we're going to let the community decide the size of this collection. It's also going to be very affordable, and it's all going to be based on utility. That utility is, backing a cause of mental health, but on top of that, your entry fee into this challenge that we're creating. So we're not going to be taking that much profit into this, but it's going to kickstart our concept, our brand, and it's going to give us the actual capital that we can put back into creating this, fitness community-based MVP of our app. And then obviously down the road, we get enough traction, enough customers, we can create that V1 version. But initially right now, we just want the ability to, make some revenue and then donate that money back, and we can actually create that platform of free, all equal access to, this own fitness regime. We can even have nutritional aspects to it, and if it gets big enough, obviously we're gonna have more funding to be able to put more resources into creating and building up this nonprofit into a juggernaut of just free equal access to fitness. There's so many people out there right now that they don't know what step to take. They're stricken with obesity or whatever it may be, that's causing them to stay inside and be unhealthy essentially. We can help them through this platform by making it free, because anyone can access it that has internet essentially. And I know there's people in the world that don't have access to internet, and that's fucking terrible. But I think that creating this platform is really going to propel us as a brand and build Division 42 from the ground, because I mean, right now, like, we don't really have revenue, to be honest, and it's a really difficult space to be able to provide value in, especially just selling supplements like our current model, and us kind of adding this new like concept is going to actually build a community that's going to be willing to back something that, you know, actually has a cause in a meeting, and also it's an NFT that has utility. There's so many NFTs out there that have launched that don't have utility. They promise these like metaverses and this and that, like, but let's be realistic here. They're all the same. Everyone's really copying the whole 10K Bored Ape Yacht collection, and that's not what we're trying to do here. We're going to create a strong community, build it up, and let the community decide the size of our collection, and that's going to dictate, like, you know, who's going to be part of our challenge, who's going to be a backer of what we're creating. But yeah, that's the direction that we're going in. Any comments, Joe?
No, I mean, you pretty much hit everything on the head. I mean, it's just a lot of it is concepts right now, but we have the plan of action to go ahead and really put it into perspective for everyone to actually see and do.
Yeah, and we already have our website set up the way you want it. We're just going to change the homepage, kind of geared towards that, you know, Web3 direction that a lot of companies are taking, like, that initial step into, because they're seeing, like, the value and the way that some of these companies are, like, building their stories around this, you know, community-based Web3 concept. But it was great to have you on here, Justin. Any final comments that you want to say to any of our listeners that we may have in the future?
No, yeah, thank you. First time I think I'm ever being on a podcast, so I appreciate being able to share my thoughts. I appreciate hearing yours, and yeah, just thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, you crushed it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Natural Born Growth Hackers.